Hi everyone, my name is Harper Fendler. I'm the cocktail resident here at Food52, and today in cocktail class with our friends at Tito's, we are throwing it back to the 80s and making an Espresso Martini. So let's talk about the history of the Espresso Martini. The Espresso Martini comes from the 80s. It comes from London. And supposedly in the club scene in London, a famous supermodel came into a spot and said, I need something to, and I'm paraphrasing, wake me up and make sure that they still have a good time. Okay, let's go with vodka. And they need to wake up. A little espresso, added some coffee liqueur, and lo, the Espresso Martini was born. So using espresso in the Espresso Martini makes sense, but not every bar has an espresso machine on the back bar. So oftentimes we're seeing a lot of places use a cold brew these days, especially with the prevalence and explosion in popularity for cold brew. I would recommend using cold brew as opposed to making a hot pot of coffee and then letting it cool down. A lot of those flavors don't end up mixing well. So these are the basic building blocks of an Espresso Martini, which provides a really great foundation to be really creative with it. So this works all on its own, just like this. But with the resurgence in popularity in the Espresso Martini, I've seen people adding olive oil to them, I've seen people adding cheese to it. The reason they work is because of the espresso. So using all of those kind of creative inspirations, I took a couple of notes from all of those to make my own ultimate Espresso Martini. We need to make a couple of ingredients first, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Our saline solution in this small pot and a stout syrup here. I've already got the water coming up to temp in this small pot right here. So all we're going to do is get the water hot, add the salt, whisk it in so it dissolves, and that's it. The ratio I'm doing for this saline solution is 10 parts water to 1 part salt. So a saline solution is actually a really great ingredient to keep on your back bar. It's something that isn't going to go bad because it's just a little bit of salt water. Next time you're trying a classic drink, maybe a Negroni or a Martini, I would recommend adding just a little bit of a saline solution, just a dash, and see how it helps. We use a very little amount in this drink, but that little bit of salt helps round everything out. The stout syrup is a little more involved. So we're gonna get our stout, pour it right into this larger pot. And the goal with this is to cook it down, cook out the excess alcohol and make it more of a concentrate to then turn into a syrup a little later on. So this is gonna cook down for about 20 minutes. As you whisk it, it will foam up, but just make sure that you're keeping the heat at a medium, it's staying at a simmer. All right, so all the alcohol is cooked off and the weight has reduced by about half. So to double check that, I'm gonna weigh it out. We started with about 12 ounces and we are down to 6 ounces. Perfect. So we've reduced it by exactly half. We have 6 ounces of our stout reduction here, and we're gonna add 6 ounces of sugar to it. So we're gonna make a 1-to-1. I'm going to whisk this together, and then we're gonna set it aside, and we want it to cool down a little bit. We want it to cool for a couple of reasons. One, we don't want to put hot liquids into a cocktail that is going to be shaken with ice. And two, we're also going to add 6 ounces of cold brew to that as well. It will be 1-to-1-to-1 of stout, sugar, and cold brew. All right, so we have everything that we need to make my Espresso Martini in front of us. We even have our stout reduction right here with the cold brew mixed in, so that is ready to go as well. Tito's is a great base for this drink because it is a 100% corn mash build. So we have this really great body and roundness that contributes through the entire drink. So we'll start with 1.5 ounces of Tito's. We're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of our stout reduction. We do 1/2 ounce of our coffee liqueur. And 1/4 ounce of cream sherry. Now the cream sherry is an element that I like to add because it adds that little bit of fruit and contributes to the body of the drink as well. And speaking of body, we're also going to add an egg white. And then we're going to finish off with a dash of orange bitters and a dash of our saline solution as well. For this drink, since we're using an egg white, we're going to do what's known as a traditional dry shake, which is where we take all of our ingredients in the tin and we go ahead and shake it before we add ice. This is just to emulsify the drink, get that egg white mixed all the way through before we start to shake with ice and add dilution and chill it down. So looking in, we can see that everything's mixed up pretty well. We're gonna go ahead and add some ice now. So you can see that the tin is nice and cold. Now we're ready to pour. We're gonna make a quick whipped cream, a light whipped cream, just to go right over the top. So I have my tins here. I'm going to add a bit of heavy cream, a little simple syrup, and a pinch of cinnamon as well. Now, we could use this spring to make a stiff whipped cream. When you're shaking it up, you just remove the spring from a Hawthorne strainer and it will make a great whipped cream. But because we want to be able to pour this, we're actually going to use just an ice cube. We don't want this to be a stiff whipped cream. We want this to still be able to pour out of the tin so we can layer over the top of the drink really well. So make sure that every now and again you pop the tin off to take a look at it and we don't overshake it. All right, and we have our nice cinnamon cream. Okay, so let's finish this thing off. We're just gonna dust it with a little espresso powder right over the top. And that is my Espresso Martini. I want to thank everyone for joining me in cocktail class again this week, and until next time, cheers.